Moving on to some of the rule changes that we have for the upcoming NFL season. Two of them in particular are kind of the hot topic right now. The NFL banning the hip drop tackle, and then the other one is the kickoff changes. Let's go ahead, Drew, and start it off with the hip drop tackle. This was Monday when the NFL owners voted at the annual league meetings to ban the swivel hip drop tackle. It's a technique that the league officials has deemed a great threat to player safety. Now, this is also on the other side of it. The NFLPA unanimously said, no, we don't want to ban this. This is deemed a threat to player safety. But what this screams to me is owners care about what? They really care about money. And when your star players are on the field, which is on the offensive side of the ball, when your star players are on the field, you're making more money. You're selling out games more. You are selling more jerseys, more merchandise. This is what matters to them. Now, they did bring up a couple things. So what I have here is league officials felt compelled to take measures to ban the tackle after observing 230 instances of the now illegal tackle during last season's games. That averaged out to roughly one occurrence per game, which was up roughly 65% from the 2022 season. NFL executive Jeff Miller said 15 tackles led to injuries that caused players to miss at least one game last season. Also notably, this is how Tony Pollard got hurt a couple years ago in the playoffs. This is how Mark Andrews got hurt. So those are the ones like pop off immediately, front of the mind, guys missing seasons or having surgeries because of it. Now, Drew, how do you feel about the hip drop thing? I know it's not a popular thing right now to pretty much anybody, but how do you feel about it?
I'm actually on the other side of this, and I'll explain why. This is the first rule change the NFL has made that is actually for the safety of the players with nothing else behind it. So they've eliminated a lot of the big tackles across the middle, right? That was because they were getting the shit suit out of them by former players with the concussion thing, right?
Right.
That was all about to protect their money because they didn't want to lose billions of dollars in a settlement from CTE and head trauma. And I'm not going to sit here, whether you believe in it or not, I don't care. That the point of the reason why it happened is for the NFL owners to protect their money. All the stuff to protect the quarterbacks, it's because that's the most important player on the field. And I don't care which crazy family member of ours screams about how the days of the 70s were better. Nobody wants to see the third string quarterback. Like nobody wants to see Will Greer versus, well, somebody might, Jerry might want to see Trey Lance, but besides that,
bro.
Yeah, I was trying to think of who our third string quarterback is. I can't even remember him. We took him from the Bengals last year and we re-signed him, but Brian Allen or Brandon Allen or something like that. Anyways, not Josh Dobbs. So nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that on Monday Night Football, right? That's to protect the investment of the game. This is the first rule that's really like, okay, they want to eliminate this broken ankle thing, right? And I totally get it. The reason why I'm not against it is because if you look at the statistics and you went into one season of them, right? If you go 3 years back, this play didn't ever happen, right? Yep. Somebody put it on film. Defenders realized it was an effective way to tackle, and it had an uptick of like 83% over the past 3 years. I think you mentioned 65% from 2022 to last year.
Yeah.
It's not something that's been around for 30 years. It's not something that's been around for 10 years. It's literally a technique that's exploded in the last 3 years, which means guys weren't doing it before. They can move forward without doing it now.
And then just to interject real quick, it also became popular because of they're looking to avoid using their helmets in the tackles to avoid concussions, and obviously the penalties that right on top of it, the targeting, the using the crown of your helmet, all that stuff. So it became popular in the past couple of years because of that as well. So I think they both kind of piggyback off each other in terms of popularity because of the injury stuff and the penalties, and because it's an effective way to get someone down pretty quickly, right? You're not having someone drag you around if you just drop their hips, right?
I also saw that they're going to be a little more involved with the replays when it comes to the roughing the passer and the pass interference and all this stuff. So
yeah.
The thing about it, man, is these replays take way too fucking long. It's the same way in the NBA. You watch the play, you know right away what happened. Listen, you can hate the body weight rule. You can hate that the defensive tackle drops his body weight on the quarterback through the sack. You can hate it if you want. But the second it happens, we know it's a penalty or not. as a viewer on our couch. We know it's a viewer. You can hate the fact that the defender slaps the quarterback in the head when he's throwing and it's a penalty. I'm not trying to argue whether it's good that it's a penalty or not. But when it happens, we know it's a penalty. Let's make it quick. You got 756 cameras in the arena, the stadium. I counted them. 756. No, I didn't. You know right away if this stuff is happening. You know right away if it was a pass interference. You know right away what it was. Let's just have it. If the flag is called, the ref can go to the thing. It can be told in his ear. They could pick up the flag or they can continue on with the flag. It's the same thing with the turnovers. Every turnover now and every touchdown is reviewed by the league to make sure it's a touchdown, right? They don't even have to throw a challenge flag anymore. It's quick. It's quick. It's quick. If you're going to review the penalties, make it quick, because the second we see it, we know if it's a penalty or not.
And within the 2 minutes anyways, it's being reviewed by upstairs at that point. So it's like, why don't we just kind of expedite that instead of the 2 minutes? Let's just have it always be immediately being reviewed every single time. So if there is a flag being thrown, we already know what, a challenge flag being thrown, we already know what the outcome's going to be. So
I can't even tell you how many challengeable plays there are in the NFL anymore anyway, because was it a catch? They're going to look at it. Was it a fumble? They're going to look at it. Was it an interception? They're going to look at it. Like, they're kind of getting away from the challenge anyway, which is fine. I don't care one way or another. I just want to get it right. If there's a play that's made on the field, if the flag is thrown. Now, I'm not going to argue about the flags that aren't thrown. I'm not even going to go there, because you could throw a flag on every play. But if the flag is thrown, I want to make sure the penalty is correct. And if it's the body weight, get over it. If it's hitting the head, get over it. I just want to make sure it's right. If it's the rule, the letter of the law, just make sure it's right.
And that's what the NFL Players Association is worried about, is being able to correctly and consistently enforce this type of tackle in such a fast-paced game. So just for the technique upon the terms that the NFL put out, it's when you grab a runner with both hands/arms while attempting to make a tackle, you unweight himself, or he unweights himself by swiveling and dropping his hips and or lower body, and then lands on and traps the runner's legs at or below the knee. So I'll probably stick in a video somewhere around here on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, you're probably watching it right now at this moment. So the NFLPA is really just worried about the consistency and correctly calling it. I guess that's just all they're really worried about. They're not worried about much of anything else past that. So again, there's some disagreements between the owner stuff and the Players Association. I don't really stand one way or another. For me, it's just kind of, it is what it is. I kind of stand with you in terms of, even if you don't like the rule, the body weight thing, the hitting someone in the head, it is what it is, and it's going to be called. So it's like, you might not like it, but that's just the way the game is right now. Like, it's going to change from year to year to year to year to year, and things being added, taken out, adjusted. And that's just the rules. And that's just something that we're going to have to live with. I don't really care. It's just going to be, these professionals are going to have to find a way around it and change the way they tackle.
You know what I would do if I was the NFL the first couple of weeks of the season? If you throw the flag on the penalty on the play, I would make it an automatic ejection. Player's out. He's thrown out of the game. You want to know why? Because if you do that the first 4 weeks of the season, it'll eliminate itself immediately, right?
Yeah.
Like, it'll immediately remedy itself, because a player has to understand. A player has to make a decision. Oh shit, this guy just burned me. Okay, pass interference. It's now a 20-yard penalty instead of a 60-yard touchdown. I kind of like a little bit of that goes in, right? When the DB gets burnt and he throws himself in and pulls the wide receiver down. So, okay, well, you know what? You just saved a touchdown. I'm cool with that. I don't want that type of variance in this penalty. I want it. If the NFL wants to get rid of it, then make it a disqualifiable play, and the players will stop doing it. Yeah. And if the players don't like that, at the next CBA negotiations where the owners bend them over the table like they always do, they can bring it up. It just is what it is. Yeah. I don't want to see. I'm so tired of people complaining about shit that's already happened. Like, we can go outside and scream at the sky if we want, but they passed the rules, so now let's adjust.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other change that happened, other major change, I should say, that happened is the NFL kickoff changes. 29 of the 32 owners voted in favor of the modification on Tuesday. It was yesterday. We're recording on Wednesday. It takes effect this coming season, a year only after 22% of the kickoffs in the 2023 season were returned. The modification calls for all players on the kicking team to line up at the receiving team's 40-yard line, while the receiving team lines 9 players up on its own 35. 2 men will line up downfield as returners. Once again, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to throw a picture in right now. You can see it. Just don't have a picture up right now at the very moment. The kickers will still kick from their own 35. The kickoff team defenders won't be permitted to move until the ball lands on the ground in the landing zone inside the receiving team's 20-yard line. You can think of it as basically like inside the red zone, essentially. If the ball lands short of the landing zone, the ball would be moved to the receiving team's 40, just as if a kickoff sailed out of bounds. The only drawback of the new format is it eliminates the element of surprise for an surprise onside kick. Now, if a team wishes to attempt an onside kick in the fourth quarter, it will declare such intentions, and teams will line up in the old formation and kick off. A couple of special teams coordinators have been working on this. John Fassel from Dallas, Richard Hightower from Chicago, Darren Rizzi from New Orleans have been working extensively for the past couple of years, ever since the XFL really implemented this, because this is where the inspiration's really being taken from. And not only are they working on it, but then they took advice from all 32 or the other 29 special team coordinators to really put this together and then presented it. And obviously 29 of the 32 owners passed it. How do you feel about this change? I'm really excited about it because I just want kickoffs to return to something that's consistent. 22% is not consistent. It's very much the opposite. I'm excited for it, but how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of rule changes in the past couple of years that have been really good. I mean, the PAT was a completely useless play. Bill Belichick pounded the table about making it more difficult, and it went from like a 99.8% success rate. Now it's like a 92% success rate. Still really successful, but there was a missed PAT in the Super Bowl. So it happens. I like the idea of the play. You know, they nerfed the kickoff because of the concussions. Now they found a way to bring it back in and make it exciting and still avoid the concussions. And I'm probably going to watch probably an hour worth of YouTube this week on the XFL and the kickoff just to kind of see the way it works so I can understand what the benefit to it is or not. But to me, I think that it involves special teams. It makes it a little more dynamic. And now there may be a time where, we're watching a Monday Night Football game, and next thing you know, Tyreek Hill is lined up in the backfield to return a kick. You know, you might see a Deebo Samuel back there to return a kick, but not only that, you might see Fred Warner and Talanoga Hufanga up there on as the blockers, because getting the ball to the 35, the 40, the 42 is a way big difference than the 20 or the 25. So I just think it allows players to have, it's just going to be exciting. You know, that's what we want. NFL is king. We want to make it more exciting. And frankly, there were 13 plays in the Super Bowl that did not matter. And the NFL doesn't want that. They want every play to matter. And I think they've taken a good step here. Now, it is a 1-year rule change, so they're going to, work out the kinks, and if they have to adjust something next year. Jed York, the owner of the 49ers, was one of the guys that voted against it. He was asked at the Florida meetings why he voted against it, and he just said that he actually proposed that it be pushed till October for next year because he wanted to do a little more research on it, but it was almost a unanimous decision, and it's going to be exciting. How can you be mad about something that's exciting?
Absolutely. What you're seeing on screen right now is just looking at a couple of the XFL. This is for the returns for touchdown. So you see kind of how it's lined up at the moment, and it's going to be almost the exact type thing in terms of the formation that's being lined up. So I think it could be exciting. Again, I'm really excited for it. 22% is not consistent enough to make one of the most exciting things that can happen in football is a kickoff return for a touchdown. And really, it felt like that the special teams part of it was only really thought about special teams for punt returns. Oh, I hope he takes this one in for the house. And when someone takes it out of the back of the end zone, you get excited just because they're catching it and they're running from the back of the end zone. They're trying to run into the field instead of just letting it sail over their head and go out. So again, it's an actual football play. It's not just dead in the water, because there's already too much dead time that goes on in football. So making this a little bit more consistent is something that I'm looking forward to.
I thought it was pretty funny that they announced the new rule, and then like 5 minutes later, Cordell Patterson signed a contract. I was like,
Went out with the Steelers, right?
Yeah, there you go. Like, there's that.
Yeah, right. All right.